Brother Jacob McWilliams, also a fellow targeted individual of gang stalking, unlawful surveillance, directed pulse energy weapons, Havana syndrome, psychotronic attacks, and V2K. This bounces off of the other short video that I made on why you haven't saw me in a while. The video that I titled "Why You Have Not Saw Me in a While." I estimate that I was arrested in September of 2025 homeless in Enterprise, Alabama. Gang stalked severely there and attacked with DEWs. V2K. I was behind a store. It was at least 11 or 12 o'clock at night whenever I got arrested, or 12 o'clock in the morning. And I was behind a store laying down because when you're homeless, you don't have nowhere to charge your phone, so you got to go find the nearest charging outlet. So I charge it behind the store. I was waiting on my phone to charge as I was resting my head, and police showed up and came around the corner and shined the light at me. I could have got hostile, but I didn't see the point in it. I could have got hostile. I probably could have won the fight. I trained on that moment. Mapped it out and trained on it. They had their taser ready. They already had a taser out because they already know, based on whatever the FBI told them. They already had their taser ready, and I said, "Hey, you don't need that right there." The officer said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yeah, I'm sure. You don't need that." And then he put his taser away. He placed his taser away. And eventually told me I had a warrant for my arrest. I said, "What for?" He said, terrorist threats, terrorist threatening, and stuff like that, and breaking a courthouse window out. I explained in the video why I broke windows out, and that's not the only window I broke out. I broke other windows out that I did not get caught for. I broke other windows out that I did not even get arrested for or caught for. I wasn't trying to get caught. I was trying to cause as much damage as I can without getting caught. I wouldn't have got caught doing the courthouse window if I played it safer. If I played it a lot safer. If I covered my face and everything else up, I wouldn't have got caught on that one either. But that's not the point. I'm going to go into detail. I got arrested. They ran a few subliminal messages, or they did scripted and reaction abuse on me. The cops did that arrested me. Theirs were a short version of it. Whenever I got to the jail, there was sheriffs out there, or deputies out there. They ran reaction abuse on me. Said a bunch of stuff mocking me and made mocking gestures and stuff, saying, "Did you bite the rock, or did you bite the rock first, or did you chuck it? Did you chuck the rock first, or did you bite the rock?" I said I bit the rock and I chucked it at the window. And he says, "You're a stupid mother effer." And then as they were taking me into the jail, and he kept on talking, and I said, "Yeah, you ain't gonna get away with, y'all are not gonna get away with your actions either." I made that comment. "Y'all are not gonna get away with your actions either." As they were taking me into the jail, and while they were booking me, they were still running reaction abuse on me. So I'm gonna cut it short, and that way I'm not going into detail, because I'm being hit with frequencies already about the Space Force, and they're making me they're twisting my words up and making me stutter and stuff. I don't want to keep y'all too long, so I'm gonna make it as short as I can. So as they're booking me, they put me in one of the cell blocks where with a bunch of inmates. They were running some reaction abuse on me. You can't be paranoid about this. It's not paranoia. You can't make this stuff up. And I'm not the only victim. Millions all around the world, thousands in the United States, are going through the same thing. It's not a mental illness. We'll get into a little detail on that if I'm not hit with mind fogs. If I'm not hit with a mind fog. So they eventually slacked off a little bit whenever I'm going to go into that detail. So I wasn't in there in that cell long before they started doing all that. And whenever the guard came back to the door, I told him there's going to be problems if you don't get me up out of here. I told the officer, we're about to have a bunch of problems if you don't get me up out of here. I don't feel safe in here. And the officer said, what the F do you want? Do you want to go to protective custody? You want me to place you in protective custody? I said, yes, I do. And he said, go get your bed and all that, and let's go. So I got my bed. They put me in another cell block, which they call Block 3. I was in Coffee County Jail in New Brockton, Alabama, because Enterprise Police Department don't have a jail. They have a contract with Coffee County Jail. So, although I was in this small cell, this is what they call protective custody. I was in this small cell with 4 other people. We're laying on the floor. We don't have a bed. We're laying on the floor, crammed in together. And in that same cell block, which is called Block 3, Cell Block 3, that's also where they send all the lockup people. Whenever they get in fights and all that, they send them to lockup. That's what they call their protective custody area. They send them in the same place they send people to lockup at. Isolation. So they were eventually started running subliminal messages on me and reaction abuse. I kept on requesting, long story short, as days were passing, because I was in there for 2 days before this start. Before what I'm about to get into started, and asking them if I can talk to my lawyer. Can I contact my lawyer and try to get a visit from my lawyer? They kept ignoring me. So eventually, the second day, this is just an estimate, because I've been hit with frequencies even in jail, and it caused me to throw up and everything else the whole time I was in jail. Hit me with acid reflux, caused me to throw up my food and everything else. I was sick for a while in there, but I didn't know how to tell the inmates how I'm sick. I just had to keep saying I got acid reflux, known as DEWs, directed energy weapon attacks. Eventually, since they wouldn't to get their attention, which is obviously the wrong way to get attention apparently, I broke the water sprinkler in the cell block. I broke the water sprinkler, which it flooded the whole entire cell out. It flooded that whole cell block, actually. It ran underneath other cells in the cell block. So other inmates were hollering for the guards, they pressed the panic button. There's a panic button in each cell. And the guards came in by twos or threes. And they got us all out of the cell. At least those in my cell. They handcuffed us and asked, what is going on? What happened? I said I broke the water sprinkler. They got mad. They got mad and said, you broke the effing water sprinkler. You broke my water sprinkler. I said, yep. I'm trying to get y'all's attention because you wouldn't let me see a lawyer. So they put them in another cell, I think, and they took me to the front, the lobby area, and put me in and I'm making threats to them at the same time. I'll blow y'all's brains out and everything. I don't care. I'll blow your effing brains out. Is what I told them. I'll kill you and your whole family. Is what I told them. So because I'm hit with frequencies and everything. And they put me in one of these strap-in chairs. So then they came back, they put me in the strap-in chair, where they strap your arms in, your shoulders in, your legs in, and everything, your feet in, your ankles, where you can barely even move. I'm trying to break out of it the whole time. They went back in there, eventually came back, and they strode me where there was no camera. They strode me where there was no camera. And one of the officers said, look at me. So I looked up at him, and he punched me in the face. He punched me in my lip area and caused my lip to bleed. So the officer, the CO punched me in my lip and caused my lip to bleed. Where there was no cameras at. They didn't even get it on camera. He strode me all the way back into Block 3 and set me there for a little while. Sat me there for a little bit. The other inmate said, did they beat you up? And I said, yeah, my lip is bleeding. And then the officers came back in there after after so many minutes, strode me back where there was no camera, and another officer slapped me in the back of my head. There was another officer that slapped me in the back of my head. One of the officers' name is Twin. They call him Twin. I don't know. I can't remember the other officer's name, but he's bald-headed. But one of them's name is Twin. And then they strode me back into the lobby and set me there. I could barely. I was there for hours, almost a whole night. They had me there. I could barely breathe. I could barely breathe because they had me too strapped in. The straps were pushing up against underneath my shoulder blade, up against my chest, and I believe this is where my heart is right here, up against my chest and all that. And I'm over here having to gasp for air. I'm crying for help, for them to loosen the straps a little bit, and it took me hours just to get them to loosen the straps every now and then. And they're over there mocking me as I'm being tortured. They're mocking me, cussing me out and all that, calling me names, saying you threatened the president, you threatened the FBI, and stuff like this. And they're torturing me and all that, and mocking me. Long story short, it's probably after midnight by now. I told them I would rather die. I would rather die than to be tortured like this. He said, all right, well, since you said that, you're going to go in a turtle suit, and I'm going to put you in a turtle suit, and you're going to lock up for a lot longer. Suicide watch. So eventually, they finally let me out of the chair. I pissed myself and all that because they wouldn't let me out of the chair for hours. I couldn't go to the bathroom. So they eventually let me out. I took a shower. They put me in a turtle suit. I was in there, and then they put me in the cell. I was in there for at least 2 days. And then they came in there and said they brought me to the, they took me out of the cell, brought me to the lobby again, and said, you're being temporarily released. You're going to the hospital. So I put on some of my clothes, my clothes that I came in with, and they took me to the hospital, and they checked me into the hospital. And they did blood tests and stuff like that, and they admitted me to the hospital. And I've been there for almost a month. And the hospital staff kept asking me, are you hearing voices that are not there? Or seeing things? I kept telling them, I only hear voices that are there, but I don't hear voices that are not there. So they put me on medicine that they would normally give people that do hear voices, but I never admitted to hearing voices. I never told them that I hear voices that are not there, because I don't hear voices that are not there. They are there. Voice to skull technology is attacks from actual demonic people in the military. These medicines never stop the voices. They put me on several different medicines and never stopped the voices. Never. I eventually ran out of the medicine since I've been in the program. I'm not back on the medicine. I don't take medicines right now. I'm not going to, if I don't have to, unless they force me to. Then I'll have to power through it. But it don't help with the V2K. Because it's not voices that are not there. It's not just in your head. It's attacks from the military. These medicines they put me on does not help. The medicines they have put me on did not help at all. So yeah, I was in there for about a month. Then they brought me back to they took me to health court and brought me back to jail. I was in there for 3 or 4 months after that. So I was in, before they took me to the hospital, I was in there for several weeks, or at least not several weeks, almost a week. I was in there, and before they took me to the hospital. And then I was in the hospital for almost a month. I turned 29 years old in the hospital. My birthday hit in October the 5th, hit while I was in the hospital. So they arrested me in September, at the end of September. My birthday hit while I was in the hospital. So, and then after they took me back to the jail, I had to redress into a jumpsuit. I was there for 4 or 5 months. I probably accidentally said 3 months. They're hitting my brain right now what frequencies the Space Force is. But I was in there for 4 or 5 months. And it was boring, torturous. I slept most of the time. The judge court ordered me to a rehab program because I told him I was homeless. He said he don't want to release me to a tent. He doesn't want to release me to a tent in the cold of winter. So my attorney got with the judge and asked him about admitting me to a program or something for a year. So that's part of my 1 year unsupervised probation, is being in the program for an entire year. And there you go. That's part of why you haven't heard from me in a while. I don't want to make this too much longer. Go in peace, brothers and sisters. I might talk more on this. Go in peace.